I'm Cynthia Riley, and I'm here to talk to Richard Grebenstein. And it's great to have you, Richard. So I'm going to be asking you some questions about your experience at First Congregational United Church of Christ. So what are your first memories of our church?
Well, actually, I was thinking about that question. Being invited to Rich Law and Nancy Major's Law, whom are members here now, wedding. And I remember the sanctuary being very dark. The east windows were covered with vines. There was actually no light in the sanctuary on a midday wedding.
Wow.
That was my first memory.
How did you happen to know Rich and Nancy?
I worked with Rich's dad for 50 years.
You did?
Yeah, Rich's dad was Roger's shoe store.
Yes,
downtown.
I remember.
Yeah.
Wow, so you became acquainted with Rich through the shoe business.
Correct.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah. So are you remembering when you became a member of the church? Or is it?
You know, I was going to make a call and I didn't.
That's
to the
okay.
office.
But you said you thought it was about the same time that the Lehmkuhls joined the church.
Same class.
Same class.
Yes.
And I wish I had that on the top of my head, but I don't either. But that's been a long time. That's probably been 20 to 25 years.
Or more. Yeah. One interesting story, if I may continue.
Oh, of course.
As time went by from Rich's wedding, the next time I was in this church I was invited by Pete Hokanson, both my husband and I, to see him play a solo with Jay Norman on the clarinet.
Oh, wow.
And
how did you know Pete Hokanson?
Well, Pete Hokanson's my brother-in-law.
I didn't know that. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Interesting, huh?
So you were, what kind of instrument did you play?
I didn't play.
Oh.
This was Pete. We came to watch him perform.
I see. I thought you were part of that presentation.
No.
No, but you came.
And it was a full service, and particularly left the service with an energized feeling with the Micah 6 ending round. When you first come to this church and you hear that, I've talked to other people about it, it lingers for about the week after. And I couldn't wait to come back.
It's very powerful. The Micah 6 singing, very powerful. Can you share a memory from your time spent with any committee or volunteering you did or team?
There isn't a committee in First Congregational United Church of Christ that I have never been on. I was head usher for 8 years. That was my most dedicated job.
I see.
And I enjoy hospitals.
Hospitality?
Hospitality. I'll say it again. I enjoy hospitality. And that was an opportunity for me to take the skills that I had learned in the retail business, how to build trust, you might say, with new people coming in, to make sure that they were integrated in the congregation. It was more than what you see.
Yes.
And that's where my service in this church began.
Yes, and it's a very important job. ushering is huge. It's not just standing at the door.
Right.
Right. I mean, you have to deal with all kinds of things about safety, and you never know what's going to happen, and making people feel at home. It's really important.
Yeah.
Right. So didn't you also help out in the office for a while?
I volunteered in the office on my days off, working at the shoe store. And when the shoe store went out of business in 2005, I was offered a part-time job as a receptionist, and this was a paid job. It eventually worked into higher promotions and administrative assistant, communications coordinator.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what ministers were you involved with when you...
When I first joined, it was Jim White.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And it was a different time. And I don't know where this would file into questioning, but I think we could skip back something I think is very important in my journey here at the church, was that when I don't know where to begin, because there's so many stories to tell about me.
Yes.
You know, getting involved in the church. My first volunteer job, per se, was being the receptionist for the photo directory. In other words, everybody come in and that type of job. And I was asked by a member of the church that is now passed, but his name?
Sam.
Okay.
Sam McCullough, Nancy
Right.
McCullough's husband.
So let's go back.
All right.
Sam McCullough was the first person in this church to ask me to be a volunteer.
That's memorable.
And from that point, it was building from there on.
Yes.
I got involved very much in the church. Back in 2000, this needs to be corrected too. I don't remember exactly. I was nominated and elected to be the director of missions and outreach.
Oh, I see.
Okay. And then in those days, you were called a director.
I see.
And you were a director, not only of OCWM, which later became Mission Giving and Outreach, but O&A, Open and Affirming, Justice and Peace, Membership Committee.
Wow. All of that fell
All
under...
fell of that under my umbrella.
Wow, that is a big job.
And I enjoyed that job. And
Did you do that for a while?
2 years.
2 years.
Back then it was 2 years.
And then you were, was it called the board then? Was that,
It was the
you were
board.
on the board in that position?
Yeah, the pastor had to answer to us.
Yes, it was a different setup.
And I liked it that way.
Did you?
And I still like it that way. But times change.
They do change. Who do you remember as friends in the church over the years?
Many.
I'm sure.
That's not a particular answer, but Andy Kort was a good friend. He was a very special friend where when the Korts came to the church, I was head usher, and I did my little making him feel welcome type thing, making him sit, making him, not making him, but asking the people next to him, you should know these people.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Integrating. And it's amazing if you watch new people coming into your church, our church, they start in the back row, and eventually, once they start getting comfortable, they go from the middle front. And I always enjoyed watching that.
Yes. Anyone else you can think of in those early days? It sounds like Sam McCullough had a place in your
Marti
heart.
Booth.
Marti Booth. Oh, yes.
She's the one that got me involved in missions.
She did.
And outreach, and with her experience. And some of the things that went on when she first belonged to this church and was involved in missions.
Was she a mover and shaker?
Right. But she was in a time where the McCarthyism type thing, and I hope you get to interview her because she is a real icon when it comes to this place.
Yes, she is. I hope she'll be interviewed also. I imagine she's on the list. Yes. What do you value most about this church and our community here?
No, it's just second home for me. I mean, I'll have to admit I haven't been here for a while due to illness and one thing on top of the other.
Yes.
But I value a lot.
Are there any troubling times you'd like to address at all? Any difficulties within the church that you saw or experienced that were worked through or anything like that, or any other memories you'd like to share about your experience here? I know the open and affirming process was fraught in some ways.
And we, today in 2023, basically don't have an open and affirming. They don't call them committees now. They're
teams.
Teams. And yeah, it's not for me. I mean, I don't like the language that went into the new Constitution.
I see.
But if you knew me and knew my life and the way I look at things, I get in a lot of trouble because I look at the world the way I'd like to see the world, and that's the way it should be, which I know is wrong.
I think we all do that to a certain extent.
So I micromanage things. Some interesting facts that you might want to know that I was involved in. O&A used to have a yearly camp at La Forêt. And it was usually around May 18th or 19th for a weekend. And many members from this church in Denver and other cities in Colorado would go to this church camp for O&A people. And at that, Guy McPherson and I, in our cabin, one night we were all visiting, I said, you know, Guy, there's a lot of gay people in our church. Why don't we form a gay men's chorus?
Oh.
So I was on the cusp of the beginning with Guy, and then I was through one concert and moved on to the next thing I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
So I was a catalyst
Bravo.
in that, which still is in the. I've been a Joseph in the mystery.
You have? Oh.
Yeah.
Do you remember who was Mary with you?
Yes, I do. Can you hold the tape?
Hard to remember their name.
Well, who is our seraph, Paul?
Lori Miskel?
Her mother, Karen.
Karen.
My Mary in the Miskel was Karen Miskel.
Karen Miskel.
My Mary in the mystery.
Yes, that's
Karen
a mouthful,
Miskel.
isn't it? Karen Miskel was your Mary. Was that a thrill for you?
Absolutely.
I bet. It's such a spotlight on your service, your involvement, your value to the church. It speaks very highly of your history here. Yeah.
And this is all before I became an employee of the church.
Uh-huh.
And I was an employee of the church for 12, 13 years.
I remember talking to you on the phone several times back then. Yes. So what is your favorite memory of First Congregational Church, would you say?
Oh, gosh, I think I've said a few of them.
You have said. Is there anything else?
I can't think of anything offhand.
All right.
I know there are some things.
Yeah. What advice do you have for the congregation moving forward for the next 150 years?
Be careful.
Do you want to expound on that a little bit?
Times are changing. Mainline churches are losing numbers.
Yes.
Not only our denomination, but Presbyterians, Methodists, Lutherans.
Yes.
We need to be in building our youth and our young families back up in this church. One of the nice things that this church has done for me is to have the Sunday service live or YouTubed. You can see it either way. So that has kept me in touch.
That's great.
They now send me a special bulletin out on Saturday for those people who don't even know it, that has congregational care and in the whole full service.
The worship service,
Right.
and then the concerns for the congregation, things like that.
Right.
That's great. I didn't know that. And so you watch the service at home?
Every Sunday.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. That's great. So it still helps you feel a part of what's going on.
Correct.
Great, great. So when you
sat in the fourth row in the center. I can remember where everybody's sitting when I watch.
Yeah. That's right.
That's what you get when you're 82 years old and wacky.
No, I think we all do that when we're watching it from home. We're thinking now, where's so-and-so? Are they in their usual spot? Right. Do you have anything else you want to share with us about your hopes for the church, or suggestions or memories? Anything else you want to share? This is your chance.
Well, I don't know where this falls. Probably in one of your other questions. But I might have a lot of negative things I can say. But one of the biggest positive things is when you become my age, very ill in some cases. One surgery after the other. I've been through and have Stephen Minister. I'm on a new one now, and I just love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you've had several Stephen Ministers?
Two.
That's wonderful. So you really appreciate that outreach. How often do you meet with your Stephen Minister?
Once a week.
Wow. That's awesome. Anything else you'd like to share?
No.